will also bring you closer to the people they are serving and the stories that shape their work. Join us on NAS Watch every Friday on Rapid Television at 7 p.m. So get informed, get engaged, and get to know the leaders shaping Nigeria's future.
This is Rapid Broadcasting Network, RBN. We connect people, power stories, and amplify voices. On Rapid TV, we're rooted in culture and your window to the stories that matter. From news to lifestyle, we inform, entertain, and uplift. Join Rapid TV on StarTimes Channel 176, Nigecomsat. On Rapid FM, we speak your language from the soulful airwaves of Umuahia to the vibrant culture of Port Harcourt and beyond. More than broadcasters, we're creators, amplifying that voice within with powerful content across TV, radio, and digital. Join us at rbnradiotv.com and all our social media handles. One network, one voice. Rapid Broadcasting Network, RBN, the sound of your city. Rooted in truth, driven by impact.
Good evening and welcome to another NAS week. Well, when I say NAS week, it almost sounds like we had plenary or sitting today. Well, we haven't resumed. I'm saying we because, we're not right there at the National Assembly, but that doesn't mean that, the impact of these laws that they bring to the fore and that they deliberate about. And this is why we're here to, dissect some of these policies and talk about them. And, of course, get to know what Nigerians think. It's also an opportunity for you to hold your representative accountable in all areas, no matter where you are. Now, something exciting happened this week, which of course is the Cyber Crimes Act 2025. Of course, you remember some persons talking about gaining access to someone else's phone, computer, or digital device without their permission is a criminal offense and, of course, punishable up to 5 years. Now, if you didn't believe that that is a thing, I think this is a time for you to put yourself together, because this week the news broke out that the new Cyber Crimes Act 2025 has officially been passed into law by the National Assembly under Senate President Godswill Akpabio. Now, what this means, for those who don't understand, what this means is that provision in the Cyber Crimes Prohibition Prevention Act is now fully binding and enforceable across Nigeria. So if you are an online user, content creator, or admin of any digital platform, be it WhatsApp, be it Facebook, be it Telegram, you must know what this law says, because ignorance, they say, will not be an excuse. Now, let me now just run through the some of these acts that you need to know about. So, unauthorized access, which of course is Section 3, accessing someone else's phone, laptop, or an account without their permission. And this particular one is punishable by up to 5 years in prison. We also have tampering with data, and that is found in Section 4. Deleting, modifying, or interfering with another person's digital data is also punishable by up to 5 years in prison. We also have disclosure of critical information, that is on Section 5. It's also punishable by up to 15 years in prison. We also have recording private conversation, which is, of course, is on Section 10. And this has to do with those who love to record private discussions without authorization. Even if you are part of the conversation, you shouldn't do that, because this is punishable by up to 2 years in prison. Now, we also have publishing of fake news, which of course is in Section 19. And of course, spreading of false, misleading, or deceptive information online. It is punishable by 2 years in prison. Then we also have the part of online harassment and abuse, which of course is Section 22. Posting offensive, vulgar, or indecent content to insult or humiliate others. This particular one is punishable by up to 2 years in prison. And finally, let's have that of inciting ethnic religious hatred. That is on section 24, making statement that provoke ethnic, tribal, or religious violence. And this particular one is punishable by life imprisonment. Now you're wondering, this is an amazing, it's a really amazing act, because we see a lot of people get to default. You're having a conversation with someone, and the next thing, your recording is out there, and you're asking yourself, how did this come to be? Well, for those of you who do that, this is a warning that the Cyber Crimes Act is in full effect, and you should not, for any reason, go against this act. But this is not the core of the conversation this evening. We'll go on a very short break. When I come back, I will tell you what we will be talking about today. All right, welcome back. It's NAS Watch. For those who have been following on our social media platform, you will see that the conversation for today is actually not on the Cyber Crimes Act. It's about balancing our laws versus our religious values. Now, let me start with say, how do we balance our laws with our religious values? Nigeria is a nation of deep faith, Christianity, Islam, and traditional beliefs, and they shape our everyday life. Yet, along this is our constitution, which defines Nigeria as a secular state, guaranteeing freedom of religion and, of course, forbidding any state religion. Let's look at the practical aspect. Faith casts a long shadow over lawmaking. Legislators often mirror the values of their religious constituencies, and this tension surfaces whenever battleground. We see the clash in Sharia provisions coexisting uneasily with federal law in the north, and when you come down in family and gender issues where tradition collides with constitutional rights, and in free expression where blasphemy, laws, and cultural censorship meet a modern liberty. Now, the challenge for the National Assembly is very delicate, because they have to navigate between respecting religious sentiment while defending the constitutional principles of equality and justice. They have to tilt far toward religion, and minorities are sidelined. If they ignore altogether, the laws lose legitimacy. And it's deeply religious society. The Assembly must walk a tightrope, legislating for a plural Nigeria without eroding constitutional freedoms. Now, we are going to be having a great conversation, because the big question tonight is, how well has the National Assembly managed to balance this? Should religion shape our laws, or should the Constitution always take precedence? And what reforms are needed to reduce future conflicts between law and faith in Nigeria? I do have someone who is going to be helping us unpack all of this, because I am sure if we open the phone lines, wherever you are watching us from this beautiful evening, you must have had one or two experiences. You probably have something to say, but we're not going to be pointing fingers at anyone. We're just going to be stating, staying on the conversation, which is, how has our lawmakers helped in balancing this? And we have someone to help us unpack all of these. He is, I don't want to say he is a force in this conversation, but he's someone who is very concerned when it comes to religious conversation, our lawmakers. I've seen a couple of the activities. He talks about faith a lot, and I know that he's well within the ambit of this. He's well, vast to talk about this. We have Mr. Alex Adekunle James. He is the founder of Read Nigeria. I definitely want to know what Read Nigeria is all about, and I'm sure you definitely want to know about that. It's so great to have you on the show, Mr. Adekunle. Good evening.
Thank you very much, and good evening. I'm so glad to be here.
All right. So I'm sure you followed the conversation from the beginning, balancing our laws and how our lawmakers are navigating through this, and our religious values. don't forget, in Nigeria, we have the Christians, we have the Muslims, and we have the traditional worshippers, and then we have those who don't believe in anything. They are just living life each day as it comes. So first of all, let's start with the very simple aspect, which is, how are our lawmakers faring so far when it comes to the aspect of religious matters?
Thank you very much. I think this is a very important question. And I would say that assessing the current landscape of our National Assembly, for example, when it comes to religion, I will say that for the current administration, we see some kind of tussle, which has brought some level of balance. Some tussle. First of all, I want us to understand that it is not a Nigerian problem. It is not. We see in the United States, for example, is like they are like the fathers of democracy, the one that have spent the whole Cold War was about pushing democracy, which is supposed to be a system of government that projects neutrality. I mean, the neutral values like freedom and liberty. They are like the father of democracy. But currently, we see Donald Trump, who his religious belief is reflecting a lot in all of the decisions that he's making. And if we go back down history lane, we see how that there are even the current values, the current political system, even democracy, all of these things were born out of, for example, Christianity and the church, taking during the time of the Roman Empire, where at some points, it was a theocracy, and all of this thing was born out of it. So in itself, I'll say that the solution largely is systems, institutions, and in the lack of it, where there is a tilt in one direction, and when the values that are gotten out of, when the effects that are coming out of these religious values are negative, that's where we see that there are problems with it. But to answer your question directly before I philosophize too much, I believe that there's been some tussle. We know that there's a very strong Islamic caucus, for example, and we see them trying to recently. There was even an attempt to widen the scope and the jurisdiction of the Sharia law, but it was shut down. And then it's been being modified. That's why I said there's been a tussle. And interestingly enough, it is because of the interest of other religions, they are able to fight it and ensure that there is neutrality and that the interest of all parties, all religion, are being considered in the affairs of the governance.
All right, so let's now start by saying that the National Assembly plays a very crucial role, of course, when it comes to the balancing of laws and faith in Nigeria. And for some persons, they believe that the National Assembly, although I understand that you're trying to see the positive aspect. Oh, they are trying. But there have been instances where the people don't think that the National Assembly are holding forth enough. And questions have arisen. Questions like, does it mean that religious laws or religious values or religious principles override the constitution or the laws of the land? Or are they just playing safe to not offend those in the religious sector? Do you think that is what is happening?
I think that it has been politicized largely. I've seen that, or we have all seen that over the years in Nigeria, as much as statistics say that there are equal amount of, they're like 50% Christians, 50% Muslims, or I don't know how to factor in the traditional worshippers, but there's statistics that shows that there are a balance.
There are actually a large number of traditional worshippers. It's just that it's not like you have churches everywhere. You have churches everywhere. You have some mosques, But you don't necessarily always see, oh, this is a tradition, this is a shrine, or this is a worship center for traditionalists and all of that. But they actually have a large number of them.
So that's one of the problems with our statistics or our data in the country. But where I'm going with this is that Islam, for example, so the battle is largely between, let's keep it at Christian and Islam within our politics. The battle, first of all, Islam is a religion that is political in nature. Yeah. Interestingly, Christianity started that way. We've seen how even till now we have the Pope in the Middle East, in Europe, in America. They all started out being Christian countries. Being theocratic, where the Pope is also like the president of the country. It started out that way, but good enough. Elites came together of the Christian faith and said, you know what, instead of, let's be able to accommodate other religion, let's choose the path of neutrality, where there is no religion in the state. And they came the separation of church and state, which the Christian body did at the time and held to and stood by. But what we've seen over the decades from then is Islam now taking that shoe, and which they are still doing now. We see a lot of nations that are Islamic in their constitution, in their operations. And so what I believe that we see in Nigeria is a continuation of that. And because it is wired within the religion, within the Islam religion, it is embedded. It's something that comes with, it's part of the training. It's largely a religious movement, along also being a religious group. So I believe that naturally when that group, when they are powerful within a system, which I see happening in Nigeria, when they've been able to play the politics to accrue some level of power, then we see all of this, what is playing out. For example, we've seen even a couple of Christians, that a few that I've heard about, that even change their religion just for political advantage. So there is already a system where this religion is what's the word I'm looking for? So you mean,
are you trying to say that it favors you if you're on the other side politically?
Politically, but I'm saying yes, and I'm saying, but it's not going down without the fight. It's not going down without the fight, because first of all, constitutionally, our constitution says that Nigeria we practice democracy. Yeah, there is also separation of church and state enshrined in our constitution. But I think that constitutionally, our constitution also make reference to, some Sharia and all of these things, which is in itself an antagonism. Yeah. But I believe that the fact that we have equal number of Christians, we have Islam doing that, I believe that the balance has to be drawn. We see where that tussle still is, where, for example, in the National Assembly, there was just like you said in your introduction, where you spoke about even dressing. I remember, that reminds me of some assembly ago where a senator tried to propose a bill where women who covered Jews' hijab across the country. It was shut down. It was laughed at and shut down on the spot. He didn't make it out of that first.
Which I can't help but wonder, why will a senator decide to say, okay, the bill he wants to propose is for women to cover up, knowing fully well that the covering up is not exactly what every religion accepts. Now, decent dressing is a thing across board. But when you want to talk about covering up in a particular way, we all know that is not for all the religion. Yes. So, do you, for a person to raise such a motion, don't you think it was coming from a certain point?
Of course.
Before it even got shut down.
Yes, there was a research I was reading recently that talks about the fact that this researcher was just trying to prove that there is no such thing as democracy in the true sense of its meaning. To say that the position or the government will take the form of the belief system and the values of the person occupying that office. So this research was saying that if a Muslim is the one in charge of this is in this position, is the president, definitely that country will be in the community of Islamic, just like we have it in Nigeria, for example. We belong to a global community of Muslim. I don't remember what that name of that group is. So the system, the political structure is such that it takes on the belief of the decision that is made. Mind you, as much as we talk about this position, the person in that office is also human. They have their interest. They have and since the power resides with them, and that's why, like I said that the solution to this balance is strong institution, strong system, so that it is impossible for one's interest to override what will be the common good or freedom of other religion and other institutions. So I believe strongly that needs to be checked. And if we're going to do that, we need strong institutions. We need representation. If, for example, we have a National Assembly with very reduced with little or no Christian, then that bill would have passed. I would not have been able to do anything about it. So representation is also important. That's why I take every opportunity I have to encourage and inspire Christians, for example, to participate in politics, to show up, because when it comes to it, the numbers matter. The number of vote representation would eventually come to play.
But you know what they say? They say politics is a dirty game. And with such a notion that politics is a dirty game, a Christian who believes who says, okay, I am a Christian, and because I'm a Christian, there are certain things I am not able to do because of my religion, they would find it a bit difficult to probably model themselves into the dirtiness of the game. Don't you think? That could likely be the reason why we probably will not have like the Christians with so much enthusiasm, because of that notion that it's a dirty game.
Yes, but it is now contradictory, because the same Christian faith, the same Bible will say that you are light in the midst of darkness. The Bible says that you go into the darkness and shine your light. For example, another part of the Bible says that you are salt of the earth. You should go and bring flavor to the earth. So that in itself already just kills that notion that because it's dirty. I mean, if you go as light and in the midst of darkness you shine your light, that's actually what the scripture, that's what the Bible says, that's what the religion expects you to do, to go inside, go into the society, go into all these sectors. And mind you, politics is dirty, yes. I mean, that's because some people went there and, messed the place up. It would require people to also go and clean it up. If this room is dirty, for example, if this room is left tattered and dirty, the solution is not for clean people to say, oh, that place is dirty. It's to go there and clean it up.
Which now brings us back to the aspect of, I mean, we're dealing in a system where we have different religious beliefs. Now, yes, yours might believe that, okay, this is too dirty for me, I can't be a part of this, or if I have to be a part of it, I have to clean the system. And then you're coming from a point, another person is coming from a point where they don't see it as dirty. So how do you intend to successfully clean up a system where not everyone sees it as dirty?
I totally understand. I believe that.
Because you know what they say, dirtiness is relative, depending on who is looking at that place.
Absolutely. So now this speaks to also the tenet of Christianity. How Christian is your Christianity? Because if you are in this system and you're not representing the faith. See, let me give an example. The precedence of Christianity in politics and governance has been one that has helped the society, that has brought in every sector. Take education, for example. All of the great institutions that we celebrate as premier university across the world, the Harvard, the Cambridge, all of these were church. They started by church. Some of them were started as institutions to train pastors, were seminary schools that eventually metamorphosed into such institutions that have brought so much solutions in terms of research and discovery, in terms of even educating and bringing modernity into society. And that's just one sector. Pick any sector, I will tell you how Christianity has improved and better that. So there's a divide where Christians don't want to participate in the secular space, where they don't want to come out and actually like the scripture will say that when the righteous are in authority, the people rejoice. Yeah, it says righteousness exalts a nation. Those are the values that the Bible, that Christianity teach, that you're supposed to be an addition to the society. You're supposed to solve problems, improve lives, and all of that. So all we just need to be able to find, Christians just need to be able to break, to collapse that divide, that build that bridge where they can easily translate their values and all of this thing and bring into the secular space. There's a known atheist, one of the biggest voice when it comes to atheism. Atheists are people that don't believe that God exists. The guy came out recently to say that even though he's an atheist, he does not believe in Christianity, but he now coined a phrase and say he's a cultural Christian. So he's trying to say that he loves the culture that Christianity brings to family, to religion, to education, to all the strata of life, politics, but he's not a Christian, but he likes the value this is because look around, the religion that are trying to dominate, you see, what value are they bringing? So I think that to now go to your first question, if your religion is not adding value to the system, it's not adding value to the nation, if all that a particular religion is bringing, maybe not all, but a fraction of what an extremist of your religion is bringing is war, is killings, and then I think that it should be checked. And this is not to say that it should now, because I don't even think there's any state right now across the world that is a Christian state, just like we have Islamic states. So I don't even think Christians are trying to now take over states. But at the very least, I think that there should be.
Let's come back.
Okay.
Let's come back. Let's not go too far.
Okay.
All right. Let's not go too far. Now, in as much as these are it's very easy for us to say, Christians are not trying to do this, they're not trying to do that. They just want to have a space to flourish and probably establish their values and the likes. But then we still have the space where your values might be conflicting with another person's value, and they also want their own value to also shine. But now we are talking about how that works hand in hand with the laws of the land. And this is the part where we now say, okay, we have to, the part of balancing, where we now have to rely on our lawmakers to balance. Now, some persons have complained. Now, by the way, if you want to be a part of the show, we can have the WhatsApp number on the screen. So if you have your messages, you want to be a part of the show, you can most definitely reach out to us on the WhatsApp number. And of course, we will take your comments. And of course, if you have questions for our guest, most definitely feel free to ask him more questions. You try to, as much as possible, to keep it very civil. All right, so because we're civil people here. And our lawmakers are saddled with the responsibilities of balancing. I'm still going to come back to that point, because if you go out there and you take opinions on the street, it's almost like when it has to do with issues, I really would not want us to mention scenarios and cases of things that have happened, and the body language from the National Assembly wasn't exactly what people expected, especially in handling of this matter. And so it's almost like, are they afraid to interfere in this situation when it has to do with two religions which have the right to exist in a country, to coexist in a country? So why does it seem as though, because I understand that you want to give them some credit for what they are doing, but I want you to be honest, Mr. Alex. I know you've seen these things. I know you've heard these things. So I need you to be honest. Do you think that they're actually doing enough in terms of balancing, looking at the scenarios and sorts of things that have happened, especially between the two major religions?
So we're back to this question. Very good question, very important question. I think that, to give you a straight answer, I think that the National Assembly are not doing enough. But they will not do enough unless there's a balance in interest, balance in philosophy, balance in religious, because a Muslim senator will not vote against a provision for his religion, will not vote against a bill that is trying to promote his religion. The same way you would hardly see Christian unless maybe some politics has been played that we should vote in support of things that are largely against what the religion. So I'm saying that this balance would only come when there's fair representation, when people are brought into the room, that when there's balance in the interests. Yeah, I mean, a lot of people say that our parties in Nigeria, we don't have ideologies, but I dare to say that we have ideologies, but they are largely based around religion and around sentimental issues, because we see this happen all of the time. However, speaking from an ideal perspective, it shouldn't be. The interest of the people, all of the values of liberty, of fairness are supposed to be priority beyond religious divide. But in Nigeria, it will only happen if there is fair representation, if we have more Muslim senators, for example, than Christian senators, they will pass everything they want to do, and it's just it's just finding a way to play around the constitution to get what they want to do. So unless there is fair representation, there is balance, and unless more Christian, even traditional worship, like we mentioned, if they are represented on the floor, then they can bring up their concerns, bring up their matter, and it will be looked at and debated. There's somebody there to fight for the interest of their religion. If they have that representation, then they are on the table, they are able to fight for what they want, and for their voice to be heard. So I believe that is like the simple way to answer your question.
Okay, we're going to go on a very short break, and don't forget that you can reach us on our WhatsApp number right there on the screen. So we're going to go on a very short break. When we come back, we will be looking at possible solutions and, of course, touching some other angles right here. It's on Nas Watch. Don't go anywhere.
This is Rapid Broadcasting Network, RBN. We connect people, power stories, and amplify voices. On Rapid TV, we're rooted in culture and your window to the stories that matter. From news to lifestyle, we inform, entertain, and uplift. Join Rapid TV on StarTimes Channel 176, Nigecomsat. On Rapid FM, we speak your language, from the soulful airwaves of Umuahia to the vibrant culture of Port Harcourt and beyond. More than broadcasters, we're creators, amplifying that voice within with powerful content across TV, radio, and digital. Join us at rbnradiotv.com and all our social media handles. One network, one voice. Rapid Broadcasting Network, RBN, the sound of your city. Rooted in truth, driven by impact.
All right, welcome back. It's still Nas Watch this beautiful Friday evening. And if you're just joining us, you probably have missed quite a lot, because we've been having a conversation on balancing our laws, and of course religious values. At what point do we?
The law of the land should bow.
Should bow.
The law of the land should supersede.
Okay.
Ideally, like when you say religion, let's unwrap this. We are talking Islam. We're talking Islam.
Or Christianity. We have traditional worshippers. We have Christianity.
As it speaks to, I understand you, but as it speaks to infringing on the law of the land, as it speaks about infringing on the law of the land.
Do Christians not infringe on the law of the land?
Tell me.
No, I'm asking you. I ask the questions. Do
All
Christians
right.
not infringe on, do Christians at some point not infringe on some of the laws?
In Nigeria, I don't have any points of reference, for this. But okay, let me answer your question. The law of the land should supersede the religious law. Nigeria is known to be a very religious country, but we have to, if we don't do something about it, if we don't uphold the law of the land and ensure that
terrorism
and all of that. So we see that something needs to be done, and we are not getting enough from our leaders, from our politicians, from the National Assembly, from the executive. I mean, there was a time when recently when Benue killing happened, when there was this massacre in Benue. And some days after the Pope died, we got a from our government, we got a message speaking about addressing the Pope's death, or felicitating with the Pope, earlier than we even got the government to speak about the killing that happened in Benue. So I think that because it has happened over the time, we have kind of normalized it, and then we don't. I think that there needs to be more affirmative action. But this circles back to what I was talking about: building strong institutions and having adequate representation. It is easy. If I'll give you an analogy, if it happens that your child does something bad, compared to a stranger doing something bad, it's natural that people would naturally will react less stricter with their child. If your child commits a crime, it still beholds, even if it's the Chief Justice of this nation, they will still go and bail the child, try to plead for the release of the child, and try to spank the child on it. So I'm trying to make this an analogy of the fact that if a certain religion are the ones causing all of this killing, and they are the ones in power, it's going to be difficult for a strong measure, because it's not supposed to be. If we have strong institutions, all of these things are supposed to both punishment and reward system are supposed to be neutral regardless of any religion. If you commit a crime, this is the repercussion for it. But when we have a system with very weak institution, with very weak system, these are the kind of things that we see.
Okay, let's now talk about some conversations that would likely pop up when you talk about things like these, and people will talk about engaging religious leaders, having them to collaborate. But we've seen some persons try to say, okay, let's bring different religious leaders into one room and let's have a dialogue. Do you think that has helped so far? I mean, we see that happen most times during elections. We see that happen during the festive season. We celebrate with our Christian brothers and sisters on the occasion of this. We preach peace. We talk about this. We talk about that. But most times, that's just where the conversation stays. Do you think that beyond what we see out there, the events, the collaborative events between religious leaders, do you think that there is anything being done in depth to see how there can be a collaboration, bring these two heads together and see how they can understand each other?
So I think that
if the National Assembly is not helping,
I think that there is a misconception. There is only mediation between two people fighting.
No, we're not fighting. We're not talking about fight. We're talking about collaboration now, not mediation. Okay.
So collaboration. Okay, let me make this point. Usually, when collaboration, mediation, when they say let us have a peace dialogue where we bring all these religious leaders across faith to have conversations, I believe that we have not seen so much result from that, because it is not necessarily a dispute. It's not necessarily a dispute. It is backed by, we need to look into the motive of all of this.
So what's the motive?
All of this killing. First of all, we see what we get, the statement we get from the government a lot of time is that, I'm talking the security now, is that there is dispute over land and over grazing. But it does not even make sense that that's the problem. Do you know why? Because if you say that it is a dispute, this person is finding these people, how come we have statistics of village burnt down, of a whole tribe killed? If it's a dispute, where are the figures for the herders that are killed, or the pasture that are killed? If it's a dispute, we should, as much as we are seeing ridiculous numbers of people killed or people displaced, we should also see, that's when you say that, okay, two people are quarreling, let's settle it, or you bring the leaders, let's settle this. But it is, I've always stood with the fact that this is not a dispute. This is an agenda that is not even Nigerian. It's not Nigerian. It is a general agenda by a religious sect to dominate, which is what I believe that there are religions. We see it happening in Europe. We see it happening in different places. It is, and maybe not killing, different strategies, but the goal is the same. So it is not about dispute. It's until we identify the root cause, then then we'll be able to nip it and find the right solution.
So maybe we should call it, they should find a way to promote interfaith dialogue.
Well, I don't think that's for me, I don't think that will solve the problem. Because China, for example.
Okay.
In China recently, the Chinese government recently declared Islam as a mental, what they call it now, a mental condition. And I'm not here justifying that, but I'm saying that different people assess problems differently. Yeah, so in China now, they are putting Muslims in a home, trying to, you know how they put people that have mental condition.
Which is not the right way to go.
It's not. I'm not
in
justifying
Nigeria, we can't even do that.
I'm not justifying it. I'm just
Yes.
saying that the problem needs to be assessed, understood for what it really is, and then addressed in the way that simply. So as much as we say in Nigeria that we are being lenient with addressing this situation, China might be said to be maybe over pushing it, but there has to be the point. I think that interfaith dialogue, all these things, is a lenient way.
So what would you, as we wrap up, what would you say the National Assembly, what will you have them do at this point? Because I mean, sometimes they try to have interfaith dialogue, they try to promote these conversations. What would you, let's pick up National Assembly now. Let's leave the religious aspect now. Let's talk about National Assembly. What would you suggest that they do?
So we have laws in the land. We have laws, and the National Assembly, that's a legislative arm of government that are supposed to make laws. And the reason why we don't just write laws and just put them down and then we have nobody manning it and we just interpret it is because the reason why our legislators sit every day, even though they don't sit every day, but the reason why they sit is so that they modify our laws to meet the demand of the day. So if the law says, do not kill, if you kill manslaughter, this is the punishment when you go to court. But when we see that we have a lot of killings and nobody is being held for it, then their job largely is to sit down and find a way to ensure that the law meets the demand of the day. But we don't see that. So the National Assembly, I believe they are mostly responsible for solving this problem because we have laws in this land. So
we should hold them accountable.
Yes, we have laws in this land.
In their responsibilities.
Yes, largely.
Okay, so that's where people say, okay, if your lawmakers are not doing that which you're supposed to do, because it's not just one person who's going to talk about it. They have to, together agree that there is a problem here and find a solution. So if they are not doing that, I think it's upon the people to keep talking about it.
Absolutely.
All right. So what would be your final words as we wrap up this evening?
My final words would be that Christians and people of other religion, needs to also stand up, needs to also participate, get involved, so that you're at the table. And when these decisions are made, when it's time for someone to speak up, we would have people that have. It's not enough to be speaking up and just be speaking in your bedroom or on the radio. Get involved, get on the table where these conversations are had, and speak up where it matters.
All right. Thank you so much, Mr. Alex Adekunle. It has been a great time talking with you. Just to also let you know that Nigerian laws are, regarding religious values, they are actually very complex and multifaceted. And of course, the constitution of our country guarantees freedom of religion, and which of course declares Nigeria a secular state. However, the implementation of this freedom is often inconsistent. And of course, I'm not going to mention zones, but you can definitely tell when we say inconsistent. But that is where we wrap up this beautiful evening on NAS Watch. We'll definitely always keep you updated with what happens at the National Assembly, policies, bills, what your favorite lawmaker is doing and your not so favorite one, what he or she is also doing. What we try to do here is to hold them accountable and make sure that they deliver in their different constituencies. And that is how we're going to wrap up this beautiful evening. Thank you so much for staying with us. Don't forget that this episode will also be uploaded on our YouTube. And of course, you can also watch a repeat on Sunday evening as well at 7 p.m. And reach us on our social media platform on Facebook, Instagram, X, And of course, we're available on TikTok. Our website, www.rbradiotv.com. My name is Cynthia Agbo. I will see you next Friday. The news comes up at 8 o'clock.